Begin Self-Publishing, episode number 36. First Impressions of the Reedsy Book Editor.
Interested in self-publishing but don't know where to start? Want to get your book onto Amazon? Want to hold your paperback book in your hands? Learn how on the Begin Self-Publishing podcast with your host, Tim Lewis.
For the longer-term listeners of the show, you may remember my interview with Emmanuel Nataf in episode number 27. He's one of the people who runs a company called Reedsy, which provides a solution for people looking for high-quality editors and cover designers. In that show, he mentioned that they were developing a new editing process, as in actual book editor. It's slightly confusingly named because it's actually not so much a tool for editors, though editors will be able to use it eventually, but more for book creators. It's like an online editor for books, in a similar way to what Scrivener provides in an offline function. Yesterday they've released the very first version of it, to much fanfare and interest on sites like Producthunt. Being a naturally nosy person who likes to try out the latest things, I gave it a try yesterday, and in this show I'm going to let you know how I got on with my first attempts at using the Reedsy Book Editor. Now, to be fair, to do a review of a new product on its first day is a little bit unfair, and I am aware that a lot of the things that I found that were annoying will almost certainly be fixed in the next few months. But I have to say that it is actually a very, very good tool. I don't think it's actually quite there yet in terms of something that I'll use, but the number of changes needed to actually make it an extremely usable product are not that great. So I'd expect in the next couple of months it will actually be almost a mainstay of the tools that self-publishers use. In summary, what it does is it lets you create a book based on chapters in a similar way to the blogging framework called Medium. If you type your book into the Reedsy editor a chapter at a time, you can at the end of it just click an export button, and the ideal is that it provides you with a formatted ebook and a print-ready PDF in a version that you can send to Apple, Kindle and print-on-demand publishers such as CreateSpace and Ingram Spark. While this functionality has been available in paid products like Scrivener for a while, generally speaking it's not been available in a free service like the Reedsy Book Editor. I can understand exactly why Reedsy are providing this. It gives a great way of Reedsy to promote editors who use their service, and it also provides a forum so that Reedsy can mediate between editors and authors because they'll be using their book editor process to eventually edit the book. Now, this actual functionality of shared editing and authors using the same document isn't available in the first version of the Reedsy Book Editor, which is out yesterday. In fact, there's quite a few features that are not available yet, but I did a few tests anyway on what is currently available, and even with that I'm fairly impressed, even though I don't think it's necessarily totally usable for most authors as it stands at the moment. First thing I noticed was that it wasn't particularly easy to actually find the editor. It sort of makes sense that it should be under the My Books section on the Reedsy editor, but I had to go to the email I got from Reedsy announcing their book editor to actually find it. If I didn't know that there was a new book editor function, then I would just go to their site and say, oh, it's not available yet. So you have to go to the My Books section and go to Create a Book. Once you've created a book, you can then go to the editor, you say Write, and you can start writing your book. Now, the next annoyance I found is that there isn't any way to import a book into their editor, apart from cutting and paste each chapter individually. While I understand exactly why they're focusing on brand new books, it does slightly limit those of us who want to create the book in another platform and then import it into the Reedsy editor, either for an editor to look at it or for the formatting, or maybe for both. So in the process of discovery, I took 3 chapters of my old Magpies and Magic book, I'm working on the second book in that series at the moment, and cut and paste it into the Reedsy Book Editor, and then noticed another problem. In my Magpies and Magic book, I format that book into sections within the chapters. So typically a chapter is made up of 1 or 2 sections divided by a dividing line. Now at the moment, there is no way to actually do this in the Reedsy editor. So I ended up putting loads of dash symbols between the sections. There is a section break thing in the editor, but when you click on it, it says it's coming soon. So I would guess that in a couple of months, available and be fixed. Just a little bit annoying at the moment. So diligently, I went in and cut and pasted 3 chapters worth of writing into the Reedsy Book Editor, and then went to the export function to see what the EPUBs and print PDF versions that it created were like. At the moment, it says that you can create either EPUB or MOBI conversion or print-on-demand PDF. I tried both of these. It doesn't seem that it actually creates a MOBI file at the moment. I've run the EPUB file that it produced through the EPUB validation tool, and that seemed to work. And I've also used the Kindle Preview tool to convert the EPUB file into a MOBI file. That also works. So it does provide valid EPUB files that will work on stores like Apple and Nook, which often you'll see converted EPUB files that actually aren't really in the right format for any stores apart from being converted into MOBI file for the Kindle store. There were, however, a few issues with the formatting that I noticed that personally would make me unlikely to use it as it stands, though I would guess these are more bugs and minor issues than anything else. In the PDF version, it says typeset by Reedsy and includes the Reedsy logo. I find this a little bit annoying, though I can kind of understand why they want to put typeset by Reedsy in. But in the EPUB version, it actually puts published by Reedsy Limited. And I definitely don't want that because it's misleading, as it's not published by Reedsy, they're just the formatters of the book. I would guess this is just a bug and hopefully it should be fixed in some later version of the Reedsy editor. It's not the end of the world for me because I could use the Reedsy editor to produce the EPUB file and then go into the file manually and mend it. But with the PDF, there's more of an issue because PDFs aren't easily editable. Another problem I noticed is that there doesn't seem to be any way to change the author name of the book away from your actual profile name in the Reedsy service. So in the Reedsy service, I'm down as Tim Lewis, but my book is published under the name Timothy Michael Lewis. I can see this being a real issue with people who have multiple pen names. I could probably fix it for my books on the Reedsy editor by just changing my name in the Reedsy service, but I wish they'd allow you to actually change this. Another annoyance I noticed was that in the existing formatting templates, it assumes that all your chapters have subheadings. They include a chapter number and then a subheading under it on every single section. Now the issue is that you end up with very odd formatting in this case. I've typically put chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, etc. in my book titles. Now what I'll end up with is number 1 above the chapter 1 in the book, which is not really what I want. I'm guessing this will be fixed with later templates that they provide. There are currently only 2 templates for the format of book that you can produce out the Reedsy editor. In general, though, the actual process looks fairly straightforward. And even though there are these little niggles at the moment, I think that fundamentally, as long as they keep working on it and improve some of these issues, that really this could be a real game changer in terms of formatting EPUB files, and certainly print PDFs, which have always been a pain to create. I think the option to actually be able to generate a PDF from the editor that is print ready and would be able to be used by CreateSpace and Ingram Spark as an interior file could make a massive difference to the industry. Once they set up functionality to allow an editor and an author to work on the same document, that'll make a tremendous difference as well. Currently that's not available, and I can understand why not, because that's actually quite technically difficult. But already you could create a fairly small, decent EPUB and PDF book with fairly low effort, as long as you're prepared to put up with a few quirks in terms of Reedsy putting its own logos on things. And you're fairly careful with your chapter headings and the like, and you make it simple, single chapter books with subheadings. You can certainly use Reedsy to produce a PDF file or an EPUB file for your book fairly quickly. So my initial impression is that I'm actually fairly impressed with the tool. It's not there yet. It's a bit unfair to take a program that's been out only for one day and to say that because of these problems you shouldn't use it, which is clearly not the case. What I would suggest is that you start looking at the Reedsy editor, maybe join Reedsy, start using their editor and see what you think of it. And over time, hopefully it will get into a state where you can start using it for your books. I hope they add an import feature soon, because I think this will help improve take-up of the tool exponentially. And similarly, a bit more configuration in terms of what we can set into what appears in the front and back matter in terms of the author name would be helpful. I wouldn't be at all surprised if there isn't a premium version where you can remove the Reedsy logos from the book. I wouldn't blame them at all for doing this, because it's obviously cost them a fair amount of time and effort to produce this tool. But as a start, it's really quite good. I'll keep you updated on any improvements in the tool in the coming months, and I'll also keep the show notes updated with updates. Talk to you guys again next week.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed today's show, please stop by iTunes and rate and leave a review. This helps make the show more visible. For free resources, show notes, and other helpful content, join the community at beginselfpublishing.com.